There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Goigi, goigi.
It's like kind of Native American Jewish.
Goigi, 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 goigi. What are you doing? You're wasting a piece of the buffalo.
All right.
To go?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the last podcast on the left with Marcus Parks. I'm Ben Kissel. With us as always.
On humbled knee before our dark lord, my name is Satanic Priest Henry Zabrowski.
Wow, Satanic Priest Henry Zabrowski. Henry,
As you can see, my voice is rational and calm.
Yeah, that's
Because
very
that is the
calm.
true trait of a satanic priest.
Nothing scary about it whatsoever.
Welcome,
I'm right
Father.
at ease. Henry, you were out in Atlanta. You were filming this something for a
project.
television project, and you were playing a devil the entire time. So you would make up the horns.
For the last 2 weeks, I've been in Atlanta, totally spray painted red with gigantic horns attached to my face, like playing a mischievous demon for a television show. And I was introduced to a book called The Satanic Witch by Anton LaVey, by the guy who did all the creature makeup, who is this brilliant artist named Shane Morton. And
what has Shane worked on? Some
he
incredible
he worked
shit,
on
right?
the remake of Halloween 2.
Love it.
He made this incredible movie called Dear God No. If you're into a 7-minute long stabbing scene of
I
a
am.
pregnant
Yeah.
woman,
Oh,
7
yeah.
minutes of stabbing this pregnant
That
woman.
is a lot of stabbing. I guess when
He
the
really
person
w-
is pregnant, you got to stab twice as much.
He
That's the
went
only
for the
reason-
ring. He left it all on the dance floor.
That's the only thing that I wish about the whole Manson thing is if it was in the age of video cameras, we would know what Sharon Tate's death looked like.
I mean, absolutely. Oh man, it went on the internet. You remember with the best score with the
Yeah,
gay porn star.
yeah.
That's it's the good and the bad. It's like because we have all these pictures, we get to see people's disgusting brunches. Which is very nice. But we could have also seen
Instagram.
Sharon
I've
Tate-
never seen
Sharon
one
Tate's
severed
death.
foot on Instagram.
Come on, people, eat a thumb for once.
Just come on.
I see one more
let's mix it
picture.
up.
I hate it. A brie and muffin.
Oh
That
my
looks
God, it's
nice.
a fuzzy sunset.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that wonderful?
Please show me Sharon Tate getting stabbed, screaming for her life.
I want to see a bunch of thugs taking pictures of their Glocks
Why
on
not?
Instagram. Do that.
Sounds beautiful.
I'm already dead.
God, I wish I could see that footage. So you're hanging out with this incredible guy.
Well, these guys were great, and we kind of like made a fast bond, and then I really started reading really deep into Satanism, and I think it's the way to go.
Wow, so you're sold on Satanism right now.
Well, because there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of human beings take symbols very seriously, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of writing, especially psychologically, when you put on a costume. And technically, what I was doing was it's like we realize it's sort of this extended mask work where I am fully in the visage of an incredibly evil-looking demon, and there's only so long you can spend dressed as the symbol without you fill it out all of a
becomes
sudden.
you, yeah.
You become you get into it.
It's sort of like the old adage, fake it till you make it. So if you want to work on Wall Street, wear a business suit,
Or as
until you go down there, and then next thing you know, you're just going to become a Republican.
And it's also a part of a thing in Satanic Witch. When the Anton LaVey was talking about is if you have the devil's name, then you should play the devil's game. And the idea is that
Did he rime everything in this book?
it's pretty
pray to
amazing.
Christ.
It's sort of a loose rap.
Yeah, or kind of a Dr. Seuss of Satanism.
But the whole it's just the idea of eventually of if you look like something, it's like you become something, and then in order to get people to do what you want in your life is that you start acting even more into your own stereotype, so people
Right.
think that they have you pegged, and then realizing that there's a form of you called the demonic form, which is the total opposite. Right, which is he makes this wheel of character, which is it's like a clock, and on each as you get to each different hour, it promotes a different sort of characteristic. And the idea is that wherever you are on the clock in appearance, there is an inner form of you that is on direct opposite on the clock. And the idea is to attract people is that you act stereotypical, what you look like.
Well, I'm going to
and
keep
then
my
show.
fingers crossed. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a thin number 7. If I could just get to a thin number 7, that maybe a muscular number 8, that would be great.
But that's called the Satanic Witch. Everyone should read that. It's about getting sex.
Pretty much. So yeah,
That's what it's about.
so it was created by this Anton LaVey character.
Well, let's start from the very beginning.
Let's-
We'll just talk
that's
about
the perfect place to
let's
start.
talk about Satan. Satan.
Satan!
yeah, I feel like we're in every writer's meeting for Black Sabbath.
So let's just start from the very beginning. Satan started off as a demon called Lucifer that was thrown out of heaven
Right.
for and then
Banging angels, right? He was fucking one of Jesus' favorite angels.
I don't know.
Not like that, okay.
No, he just thought that. I think his idea was that I believe the original argument was about like the apple and the idea of giving human beings like knowledge of their own free will.
Right.
And basically, he was kicked out for that because God apparently, he. Don't be an upwardly mobile assistant manager in heaven. You know what I mean? Because you're going
You're never going to own this place. You're never going to own it.
You're not my father. And then he gets kicked out. And since then, there has been a grand, do you want to say, shaming of the name of Lucifer and the devil. And this idea that what he actually stood for was true knowledge. And what his name means is the light bringer. And it's so right from the very start of the ancient, stupid Christian mythology, you have an immediate sort of banishment of actual knowledge.
And that's where the Statue of Liberty, they called the Statue of Liberty Lucifer, because she's the light bringer.
Ah,
Yeah, that's true.
interesting. It is?
Yeah. People are always very, very upset about it. But yeah, that was the whole point
Seriously?
of Lucifer. Yeah, that was the whole point of Lucifer, was to bring the light.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
a good person.
Well, I think at the beginning we need to make a distinction between Satan and the devil.
Yes.
Because I think Satan and the devil are two very different things. Because I got this book. It's my favorite art book by far. It's called The Illustrated History of the Devil, and it starts around 300 A.D. Whenever the first actual visualizations of the devil, like the Christian idea of the devil, first start appearing. And the devil started off as a trickster character, an idiot. A lot of demons, like I've also
like
been,
Anansi, the spider guy, or like Loki, or like.
Well,
that
I mean,
plays
well,
into
even
blah, blah,
dumber, even dumber than Loki. He's more like folklore demons.
Yeah, and
where they're-
Anansi, or like
yeah,
the idea is that he
yeah,
comes
yeah.
and he plays like weird tricks on people, and they're like, "Get out of here, bedevil!"
Right.
And he was very easy to banish. And my favorite part about the early representations of the devil is that he would look a lot like the Greek god Pan, who wasn't really a god. He was more of a demon type character. And also the concept of the satyrs, in which they have hair from the waist down.
And you
They
know
have
all this
hooves,
stuff, number one,
horns.
started in Greece, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone's covered in a thick coat of hair. And it's just
I thought he was describing Monique for a second.
Pan and Dionysus all just came from like probably one fat Greek dude who banged everything. And he,
Right.
And he was like, they're like, there's Pan over there banging that melon again. And it's just like, whatever has the hole, I will fuck it. Well, Greece, I'm from Greece. I cover it with sauce and I fuck it.
Jesus, man, what kind of ravioli do you have stuck in your throat right now?
But the best part about the early images of Satan is that he always had a face on his ass. Like that was he just had a face on his ass, and he was usually green.
And that inspired Jim
first-
Carrey in Ace Ventura. Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about that too is that if you look at the earliest form of another image that the Christian church used to form our modern idea of the devil is Baphomet, and Baphomet it's not really a specific god. It's like an amalgamation of a bunch of different pagan gods that were like that all featured. The idea is that it was about balance. Baphomet featured the two halves. It was a goat-headed creature that symbolized fertility. It had one arm facing up, one arm facing down. Okay. The idea was that it symbolized like night and day. It symbolized man and woman. And the idea of like true integration of like man and nature, which Christians immediately like separated. Mm-hmm. They were like, and so anything that remotely like resembled like duplicitous, like I would say not duplicitousness, but it's more like the idea that there's a separation between spirit and flesh. That's what they wanted to get across as much as possible. And I think that like reminded people of the unification of that. They wanted to.
So the Christians want the
slander.
unification of spirit and flesh, and Satanists want the separation.
No,
of,
opposite.
Yeah, the complete opposite. Yeah, because another thing that the early Christians were trying to do, because we all know that a lot, including Christmas, a lot of Christian holidays are just repurposed pagan holidays.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that the early Christians were trying to do, is bring paganism, or just to have people push away from paganism while still keeping all the fun parties.
Well, yes, yeah, it's like talking to a development person at a network, like for any television station. It's
Right.
just like talking about, it's just like, listen, can we get rid of all the Satan stuff? We want to keep all the fun. We're really looking for a bit of a touch of the fun, but can we get the Tanners in there? We're looking
That
trying to make a
sounds great.
Full House, but with a lot more blood.
Well, eventually, with the image of the devil, it continued to be this trickster god for a while, until the Catholic Church realized that they could start using this creature as a symbol of, I guess, of evil and something
carnality.
and something to scare people. And then our modern vision of hell comes from artists like. Just mentally ill artists.
Like Bosch.
Bosch. My favorite artist in the world, Hieronymus Bosch.
Hieronymus Bosch.
Hieronymus
I
Bosch.
want to fuck that dude.
It's a good name. I want to name my son Hieronymus.
Hieronymus is one of my favorite names I've ever heard.
I know, it's great.
Wow.
If you've never seen you ever see that Metallica video, Until It Sleeps?
Okay.
Yeah. That was based on a Hieronymus Bosch painting called In the Garden of Earthly Delights.
Okay, cool.
Which is my favorite painting. It's a triptych. It's gigantic. It's the size of it's the size of a building in like say here in New York.
It definitely took
the
like
size of a
more
wall.
than an afternoon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He hasn't been just tiddling with this in its garage. He really's been putting some energy.
Yeah.
Hieronymus, come in for dinner.
I'm painting hell.
And it's just so many different forms of torture.
What? Oh, that's what is in the garden?
That's what it's in the garden. It's so many different forms of torture and so many different types of evil and demons and
It's
all
pretty
of that.
creepy. All the demons look like giant wicked birds.
Yeah, it's really,
Nice.
really
Can
creepy.
you think of one specific form of torture that he painted?
Whoa, it's all over. The one with the guy
Yeah.
with his head in a cage. There's one with the guy, his head is a cage, and it's like
Not the
filled with,
bees!
the bees! Like
Thank
literally.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he did it. He stood up and really he was just like, hey guys, can we do something from Hieronymus Bosch? It's like, whatever you want, Nick. Just put some pants on.
The weirdest demon in that painting is a pair of ears with a knife coming out the middle of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also another demon that looks like it's got like a real big. It kind of looks like a bagpipe. It's got a very bulbous bottom, kind of like an onion,
hello.
and then out of that is this strange tube, and just kind of like a hole in the end, which it can suck people down. It's got all these weird arms coming off. It's
cool.
Oh, I thought Clive Barker created some good characters in Hellraiser, but fuck that dude. Bosch is the man.
Bosch is
pretty sweet.
He is the best. He is the inspiration for most of our Clive Barker stole a lot of shit from Bosch.
Right.
Which is great, though. He did it in a great autumn. He did a really awesome 80s gay S&M take on Bosch.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great.
More leather. That's what he's missing.
Needs more leather. No, so the more you read into this stuff, though, it's really... It's fun how people took all that imagery and just made it into like fun little things for a
But
long
it
time.
seems like
Yeah.
Bosch was taken very seriously by the Catholic Church.
Bosch is taken extremely
And
seriously.
Was he like? I mean, not to get too off the subject of Satanism, but was he like financed by the church?
No, he wasn't.
They just saw
he
his
was
paintings. Were like, that's the version of hell we're going with.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, and he also.
imagine
Hey,
other
I'm not
paintings
going
as
to
well?
shake your hand, but I'm definitely going to take these paintings.
Well, he ends up,
Killed
really
him.
what it was. It wasn't that the Catholic Church started taking it. It's that other artists, he had a lot of copycats at the time.
Okay.
And so other artists started building
he was around
upon.
the times of the plagues as well, and there was a lot of hell imagery. That was kind of everyone
Just look out your
believed that
window, right?
Yeah, the plague was happening. Everyone
Yeah.
believed it was a punishment from God trying to erase humankind.
Right.
And they were right. But guess what? But God wasn't powerful enough
Right.
to kill everybody. Were you, God?
Come get us, God. Come get us, God. So you do some static over that. So Bosch is the one who first started the slander campaign against Satan in hell.
Oh no, that started before him. Bosch
He was just
building
sad
upon
and
other
mad.
success.
He
He
was
was
like all
just
that- yeah.
insane. Yeah, Bosch was just fucking crazy, but brilliant.
Let's go through some satanic clubs through time.
Sounds good.
Real quick, just real quick, because there's two different kinds of satanic clubs that I put into that I want, which I love. Right? There's the fun kind, and there's the guys in serious robes and doing who really think they're doing some demonic shit. Like the fun kind. So there's like stuff like the Hellfire Club, which started in the 1700s, which is another. It was made of who was it? It was like Benjamin Franklin was in one.
Oh, wow.
And all this stuff. And what these were they were fuck clubs where you'd go and they were these. They would dress in the full regalia and they would kneel to Baphomet and then they would just suck each other's dicks and smoke opium and that's all they did. And so everyone started this whole mystique around them
I want
about
to see
being
Bosch
like, what do they
paintings
do?
on that. That would be hot.
Oh, what? Just fat white men sucking each other's dicks. Ugh. They're semi-hard penises.
Ben
Either they're
Franklin
eating
was
spaghetti in there, or
Can
they're
you imagine
sucking
what
dicks.
Ben Franklin's cock smelled like?
The amount of cheese odor
cheese,
coming off of that
cheese.
nutsack.
There's nothing but
wrapped
cheese.
in wool.
God,
Okay,
Ben
his
Franklin.
wooden teeth.
Nobody talks about how big of a fucking disgusting asshole Ben Franklin was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I bet he could eat a butt.
Oh, I'm sure he could.
I bet he
That's
was
the
an
fun club.
expert at eating butt.
So those guys were having a good time. Any other clubs on
There's stuff
par?
that,
Now, was
fun with that.
this Hellfire Club in America or France?
This is all in England and France and
Okay, yeah.
Ireland, and that was where it all started. This is also because the Hellfire Club was also sort of making fun of what would be like the Masonic lodges and Shriners lodges that would turn into what you could maybe consider the modern day Illuminati, if that's real or not. But like, there's a lot of what Masonic and the Shriners do is. They cover up a lot of what they, it's a Christian or they're a Christian organization, and they do a lot of ritualistic stuff that's supposed to like be again they were supposed to be very fun. Like the Shriners is supposed to be funny, like them getting in the crazy costumes. They do
Little
all this
cars.
stuff, like little cars and stuff like that. But there's also a sort of a rumor that underneath what they do is a sort of a magical ritual that they may actually be doing it for the good of mankind to promote peace. That's kind of where this idea of the world government comes from, and the idea is that like, well, we could stop all war if we get the whole world in a one giant like umbrella government. You know what I mean? But
If everyone just started sucking each other's dicks, everything would be fine.
Exactly, but because the thing is, in order to make a lot of these so-called spells work, because if you go. We filmed in the Shriners Club, and I was not allowed to go into a lot of the rooms, like when we were filming in Atlanta, because it was the Grand Temple of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And in there, like they said, it's like they have this weird giant slide that you have to like. You start the ceremony and you go down the slide and you're all blindfolded, and the whole thing is like, will you die or live at the end of this slide? And apparently they do worship graven images of a Baphomet-like character, and then in order to get these magical spells along, like with the masturbation sigil, you needed a release of blood or sexual energy, and so a lot of times you have these old men sort of fucking sucking each other's dicks and doing all this stuff in order to make their spells come true. Right? But that's another story.
Like half of the dudes are just like, I just want to suck so many dicks.
God, I can't wait to suck Marv's dick.
Marv, you want to release that energy, Marv.
And then, all right, so another group that's like the Hellfire Club, it's Bohemian Grove. If you want to talk about this, which is in America, which takes place in a secluded woodland area in Northern California called Bohemian Grove. And there's a lot of people who say that that's where in the 1950s, it's like a 2-week long like party hangout time for the super rich and politicians to hang out. It's super secret.
It's like their Bonnaroo.
It's exactly. And what they do is at the beginning of every Bohemian Grove ceremony, there's a giant owl statue that they burn an effigy of a human inside of it. And that's true. You can see footage of that online.
Love it.
What was the name of the guy that snuck into Bohemian Grove?
Oh, my fucking brain. He's from Coast to Coast.
Art Bell?
It's not Art Bell. It's George Norrie.
Yeah.
And what does the owl symbolize?
That's another sort of, it's like a fertility thing and like an all-watching thing.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
a weird like amalgamation of pagan deities. But that's a fun club.
Okay.
But there's also a lot of people talking about in there, that's where the Manhattan Project came from, was that Oppenheimer and a couple other politicians were getting fuzzed at the Bohemian Grove talking about how we need to make a new weapon.
Wow.
And that's
It's said that a lot of the biggest decisions that are made throughout world history in the last, what is it, 50, 60 years?
like where Barack Obama was made president
Yeah.
and where we decided. It's where Call Me Maybe came from.
Yeah.
Call
Yeah.
Me Maybe was written at Bohemian Grove in order to help hypnotize
Hello,
humankind.
maybe. Yes, this is Dog.
It's just weird. All these major decisions surrounded by people in loincloths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bizarre.
Yeah, just fat white men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
they-
in woods somewhere.
Yeah, they make decisions the same way. They make decisions and plans the same way that we
do.
Fucked up.
Yeah, just
Like-
drunk, like
fucked up.
smoking
Just
weed.
drunk,
Where all
smoke-
the best decisions
smoking.
come from.
You know
Yeah.
what a fucking great idea is, man? I was like, we need an atomic bomb, dude.
And you know what? You know what I fucking hate?
What?
I fucking hate the Twin Towers, man.
Fuck you,
I
man.
fucking
Yeah,
hate-
yeah. You know what we
fucking
gotta
hate
do?
the
Hey,
we
man,
gotta
I got this fucking. Listen to me, man. This may be the fucking Jaeger talking, but I think if we bring the towers down, we could get a whole bunch of wars fucking going.
Yeah, man.
Man,
I
don't
fucking
blame
love
Jaeger
war.
for
I
9/11,
love war.
please. Out of all the beverages,
So, and then now there's the serious clubs, which is people like
we could
the.
start a Jägermeister started 9/11 thing. That would be great.
But you have
9/11.
you have the Age of the Golden Dawn, which is a magical society that Aleister Crowley came out of.
Also
and these
good?
No, these are not. These are people that take it very, very seriously.
Okay,
these
now
are
we're
this
into
is
the bad
super-
clubs now.
These are the bad clubs. These are the
Yeah.
people that kind of sit around, and these are the people really doing like sex rituals and blood rituals, and probably have like done a lot of sinister things. And that's been around since the 1800s. It's very much so linked to whatever magic is going on in Masonic temples. And then there's another group called the Order of Nine Angles, which was like revamped in the 80s by neo-Nazis, and the idea of sort of that's kind of connected to sort of satanic fascism, where they just believe, sort of satanic Hitler come to life. That's what they want to
Right.
make.
Like
you
Dead
know?
Snow, that fantastic zombie film.
Yeah. And it's just real. You know what I mean? There's just like meetings
real
of
things.
those meetings. Because now it's like that all used to take place in England.
I think
But
I'm
now,
not sure if I would rather go to see one of those meetings or go to one of those drinking liberally meetings.
Well, some of the Aleister Crowley meetings, like those are there
Those
are a lot
were
of
very sinister.
those are
very fun.
extremely sinister. Like there were, of course, I mean there were murders involved.
Oh,
in
yeah?
those. Yeah, and they would actively recruit and destroy people. Like, there's a story of Aleister Crowley taking this one guy out into the desert, feeding him peyote, and then fucking him in the ass for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And the guy comes back. Aleister Crowley's fine. The guy is destroyed, broken man, never recovered.
Well, his philosophy, and that where it was used in the Hellfire Club and used in the Golden Dawn, which is his idea of "do what thou wilt," which is a major tenet, and now also modern day Satanism, which is the idea of super individualistic, do what's good for you. And Aleister Crowley just, but Aleister Crowley also believed he fucking talked to a golden eagle that he wrote the laws of the Forbidden Down, and like in Egypt, he
creeps me the fuck out.
He's
Sounds
creepy,
like-
dude.
He's one of the few people in history that actually does creep me out just a little bit.
He's sort of like the main villain in that terrible 80s remake of Dragnet starring Tom Hanks. And
yeah.
what about the Black Order of Germany? Is that something?
What is the Black Order? Is that just a witch? Is that a witch
Is
thing?
that something? I have no idea. I just
I don't
wrote it down.
know.
That sounds like a witch thing, because Germany has a lot of. They have a long history of witches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just if you want to go back in time and talk about it, it's just anytime anyone was ever groovy, they were a witch. At the time of modern Catholicism and Christianity, if you were dancing, having a good time, if you were a hot chick, because that's what they were thought. That's what the term enchantment comes from. That it comes from the idea. It's like some priest is banging some hot chick, and then he's just like, the devil, the power of the devil made me do it. It's the best way to fucking. That's what Tiger Woods should have done.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah, that shit doesn't fly anymore. And I'm reading that demon that got this book, The Field Guide to Demons, and most of the demons are used as folk tales to either one, keep people from accidentally drowning, two, keeping people from falling off a mountain, and three, having an excuse for fucking some other woman that's not your wife.
I like that last one.
Or somebody who's not your husband. It works both ways.
Oh, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's a good catch-all.
It is a good catch-all. So with this history here, how does Anton LaVey put his stamp on Satanism?
Anton LaVey is the guy who brought it all home. He's the guy who finally figured out how to do this in a fun way that you could even kids were doing it.
But it's a little dark, a little sinister.
It's a little dark. It's fun. It's fun. So let's talk about Anton LaVey with the American Church of Satan. He started it in 1967.
Hail
Now-
Satan!
Hail Satan! Now, he was a carnival barker. He was an organ grinder, as they say. Like, that's what he did. He spent his life being like a hypnotist, doing all this stuff.
Photographer?
He was a photographer for he was a crime photographer.
Yeah.
That was his big thing. And what he realized, his main, he said as a child, the first thing he read was this the idea of he was obsessed with war. And you realize as you watch this, it's like people buy weapons in order to win wars. And he's just like, the meek doesn't inherit the earth. It's the strong guys that inherit the earth. And they're laughing and lying to us.
Yeah.
Because they're telling us the weak inherit the earth, and that's
the
just
person
not
who wrote
true.
that was very strong.
Very
And he's
strong.
like, oh, no. Just continue to be meek. You're going to get it done.
And with working
way
as
to do it.
a carnival barker and working in that line of, he realized that humankind has a twofold nature, and that we like to separate them. Like, we separate our personality into, as you were saying, like on Saturday night, you'd see a man, he'd be playing the organ for the burlesque night at the carnival, and you'd see a guy all over woman, sucking on her and all this stuff. And then Sunday morning, first thing in the morning, you'd see him right there, and he's playing the organ for the church service in the same exact tent, and he's sitting there with his family, and he's just acting like it's totally fine because
Love it.
he has separated his personalities, which make him not a complete human being.
See,
right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I had this.
It's a great idea. I mean, that's a great fucking ideal.
Because the whole idea is that it's not. The modern Church of Satan does not believe in a god, a deity, Satan. They believe that Satan is the natural energy that explains certain things that science can't explain, but it's also just where we are right next to the animals.
Yeah.
It's nature. It's cruel, yet fair nature.
Or more than anything, it's just a symbol.
Yes, it's a fun symbol too,
Yeah.
and you can also that's the one of the other. It's you have to know that that once again, it's you don't really believe in an actual power. You believe in the power yourself and where you stand in nature, and nature is powerful. The earth is powerful, and then the other thing is that you have to have a pretty heavy contempt for organized religions.
Yeah.
The idea of, and so you use their symbology against them because symbology makes humans believe in it harder. You need the ritual. You need the sign. You need the to enter the space. And there's just certain things that can only happen in private. You have to do things in mass. You have to do things publicly.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Catholic Church is so popular. That's why the Hasidic Jewish community and Orthodox Jewish community has such a strong hold over its members, and why people are so fucking afraid to leave.
You dress in the
church.
garb.
Yeah.
It's if you have the devil's name and you play the devil's game, it's the idea. You dress the garb, you dress the part, and then if you fill the part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think my on-stage character in my band is covered in blood, skull face paint, X on my forehead, and a cowboy hat?
It's not because it's not just cool. You know what I mean?
No, you gotta
It's
go
because
there.
I am the soil child, and the devil belongs to me.
That's right.
very
He's
good.
into it. I like it. By the way, the Hasidics, my brother was at the Gay Pride Parade this year. The Hasidics were the only group protesting.
Man, they must have been so hot.
I know,
Out there in
so
their jackets
hot.
and their hats, looking at men in Speedos.
They're really
just going
getting into
nuts.
protests these days.
They love it.
They have that huge gathering at
Field.
City Field.
More than anybody else, I
Against
think
the
they
internet.
really hate the passage of time.
Oh my goodness, the future is not looking bright for them. It's quite unfortunate.
So I want to read the 9 to 10. Oh, do you have a question?
I do. I just want to say. So, what was the? You go back to that one thing where you were saying with when the guy was touching all the boobies, and then he went and played the organ for church. Like, what did Anton think about that guy?
That's what he's just saying that this.
He's not a full person.
That guy can. He's not a full person. He separated himself into his animal nature, which is all secret and forbidden and
Right.
shitty, and then he puts on this hypocritical face of being a religious man on Sunday, and so it's
He just shows you half each time.
It's
Whenever
just
you
always
meet.
it's also the inconsistency of a Christian God. It's also the
Right.
idea that you can live your whole life being a rapist and murderer, and then if you go on death row, a priest can come up to you 5 minutes before you die
Right.
and forgive you all your sins, and you get to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Where
What's
it's just
that? That's called the Yazidia.
no, there's another. That's an ancient There's a Kurdish tribe called the Yazidi that is a Satanist-like tribe that they worship a Baphomet-type god. But the idea is that they also believe in a god, but the god is so powerful and forgiving that they don't even pay attention to God. They only worship the devil. They want to please the devil because they know no matter what they do in their life, in the last 5 minutes of their life, they can just get forgiveness from God and go to heaven.
Yeah, we can do a whole other episode on different cultures.
Yeah, I love it.
Concept, how we can go through death cults, we can go through Kali, all kinds of shit.
Oh yeah. So here
it's interesting. It reminded me of a story. I had a teacher, Mr. Brill. I went to a really Christian school, and Mr. Brill was a disgusting fat man who had a disgusting fat wife.
Like Eddie Brill?
Well, I'm not saying it. I want to get booked on Letterman. Wait a second. So he would always...
Women aren't funny.
Jesus, man. We're going to start a Twitter campaign.
Hail Satan. No, hail Satan.
Hail
Satan made me do it. Satan
Hail
made me do
Satan.
it.
Jesus Christ, man. It's more controversial than saying the N-word right now and saying women aren't funny. For fuck's sake. But he would teach us anti-masturbation and stuff in class, and we went to the porn shop when I was 17, and I saw him there. And it just reminded me of that story. We met eyes, and then he immediately squirted on out of there. So he was being a half person.
Oh, absolutely, because there's nothing quite as makes you hard as like how forbidden and secret it is.
Right.
Believe me, I spent 2 weeks in a hotel. Gets weird. Did I tell you about this? One quick anecdote before I go into this. I'm reading The Satanic Witch, and first of all, my whole hotel room is just trash. It's just covered in red paint, and like I've also, because I had a very bad skin irritation, I had to cover myself in moisturizer. So everything's also got like moisturizer stains, like grease stains all over it. And I left my Satanic Witch book out. I've been hiding it because I've noticed that Hispanic maids, when you're in the makeup, like specifically, take it very seriously.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure they do.
Oh, Dios mío!
I have another story. I have another story about that.
The exact thing that they think is going to come through the door at all times.
What? So
they're just waiting for you.
Two stories then. The first one, it's like I left the Satanic Witch book out, which has got a big Baphomet symbol on the front of it. And then when I came back in, they had done housekeeping, and she left a moisturizer, like a body lotion thing, on top of the book.
Whoa.
That's weird, right?
That is
weird.
It's weird.
Keep the demon in or something?
I don't know. And then the other one was
demon?
I was filming in an elevator, and I had this shotgun in my hand. The whole thing is I'm supposed to go in to kill this guy, and I go into this elevator with the shotgun, and the whole thing I'm supposed to stop it before it goes up. And I'm in full demon regalia with the shotgun in my hands, and then all of a sudden it's just like I didn't hit the button fast enough, and the elevator starts going to the 4th floor. I'm sitting there with the shotgun in my hands going, oh fuck, and then the door opens, and it's this family, and they lose their shit because I'm just like, I'm sitting there full, I'm shotgun and full demon makeup, and they're just like, oh my god, and I was just like, I'm sorry, but what I wanted to do was like, vengeance has come, hail Satan, hail Adrian, hail Satan,
Hail Satan. All right, so
let me go to these are the 9 satanic statements that Anton LaVey put. I think we're already at is this an hour-long podcast?
No, we're only like half an hour.
Oh, sweet.
It's fine.
Here's the 9 satanic statements that are fun. 1. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams.
I like that one.
Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-defeat.
I like that.
Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates.
That one's fantastic.
Wow.
Satan represents...
Could lead to a Holocaust. But
I mean,
that's fine.
sort of depends on who you say is
All
ingrate.
right,
But
yeah.
he also believes in moral relativism, so it really depends on each person. Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. That's what he says. If someone smite thou cheek, smash his cheek. Something like that. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. Satan.
The concept of psychic vampires seems to come up a lot on this show.
It's because it's like my mom constantly talk about psychic vampires.
That's what it is, yeah.
Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours, who, because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. True. Satan represents all of the so-called sins, as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had, and as he has kept it in business all these years.
That's entirely accurate.
But what I also like, talk about the sins thing too, because a major tenet is also the idea of constantly celebrating the 7 mortal sins of Christianity, which is pride, envy, gluttony, sloth, wrath,
Kevin Spacey, Brad Pitt,
lust,
envy.
Did I
We
say
already got
envy?
envy.
Already got envy?
We only got 6 out of 7 here.
Gluttony.
Forgetfulness?
Sloth.
Is that one?
Vanity.
Vanity.
Yeah.
What is it? And
No
so the
vanity
idea is that
here.
each one that you celebrate each one in your own way, and like it's like my favorite one was talking about envy. He's just like envy. Yes, you look upon another man's things and you want those things for yourself, but that's the major thing for ambition. That's the major element you need in order to succeed in life. Envy
Absolutely.
drives success. So he's like,
What about sloth?
Sloth, what was it he said about sloth? It was just saying something about like how the problem with sloth is it's like, so what, you want to stay in bed an extra hour. Problem with sloth is that it normally leads to lustful thoughts, and God forbid you have lustful thoughts, and that like that's where all like sloth is the perfect thing to lead into a sexual magic practice.
I love a nice slothy day.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect.
I did it yesterday.
Tomorrow's going to be one hell of a slothy day
I
for me.
sat in my own filth for 15 hours yesterday watching Vincent Price movies, smoking weed. It was great.
I'm not
wonderful day.
gonna put on pants until like 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Don't have to.
Yeah, don't
Why
have
would
to.
you?
I'm gonna smoke weed. I might even rub myself with something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe
God.
some chocolate. Turn off the air conditioner, get all sweaty, just start smashing M&Ms
Don't let
on my
anybody see
titties.
you. I just sit
I
there
don't
in the
even
dark.
think that Anton would allow that. Sounds pretty disgusting.
But there's a lot in here. You could talk about this for a long time. Do you have another? What were the 7? The 7
Well, the
satanic sins?
the 9 satanic sins are stupidity is number 1.
Oh yes.
Pretentiousness is number 2, and then number 3, or it's kind of a tough one to pronounce, solipsism.
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 Yeah, solipsism is it's the idea that one person thinks that they are the only true human being on Earth.
Right. Yeah, 'cause
that they're the
it's-
only brain that exists. Like
Because Satanism is all about respect that each person has their own individual mind, and that that's the moral relativism thing. So you can't tell anybody what to do with their life because you don't know where they come from and what their set of rules
Absolutely.
are. Yeah.
And the modern version of solipsism is thinking a lot of it. This has become more and more a problem over the years that people think that they are the only human in a world of robots.
I love it. Yeah, and number 4, self-deceit. Number 5 is herd conformity. Number 6, lack of perception. Number 7, forgetful of past orthodoxies. And number 8, counterproductive pride. And number 9, lack of aesthetics.
I love that. That is
really enjoy all of the.
yeah, that is a fucking fantastic list of sins to avoid.
Every
I
time
totally
I've been
agree.
reading about this too, but that's what I'm saying is that every time you I was reading this thing about like true Satanists, and the idea is like if you read this stuff and you identify with it, that's how you've already been living your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Then it's like you've been in the club all along, buddy. It's great. We're all lone wolves, but we're in the club now.
Yeah.
Of lone wolves.
And
I've been a Satanist for years. I just
didn't
didn't
know
know it. I didn't know it.
Yep, this is why I didn't fucking get behind the Tea Party. This is why I don't get behind Occupy. Fucking love this. It's against the satanic rules. Yeah. Herd conformity. Do not conform.
God, it's great.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Hail
Do
Satan!
not conform.
Do not conform. Do not. Well, just don't be an asshole.
Just don't be an asshole.
Just be yourself.
Smoke weed, enjoy yourself. You guys want to
naked.
talk about the satanic ritual abuse? Because
Oh, yeah.
I could talk about the Church of Satan. I am not going to deign to say I am an expert on this. I am a new student. I'm learning about this every single day. I'm trying to believe me, listeners, if you have any more things to send me about old magic and Satanism,
We would love
please
to hear
do.
it.
Yeah.
We would love to hear it.
Yeah, cavecomedyradio@gmail.com.
Because I know Ragnar is going to have 9 things to say about what we've said wrong, and that's
Oh
fine.
yeah, and that's fine. Yeah,
You need to be educated.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to get into the...
Well, let's talk about the satanic ritual abuse right now, and this is how people perceive Satanism to be. Like
Well,
how
this is all how the things are framed. Like what's happened
Yeah.
with the recent, like all of the creepy crimes that's happened.
This is
recently.
this was in it started in the early 80s. It was the fear that Satanists were kidnapping children or using children for ritual abuse in order to
And
appease
Anton
Satan.
LaVey specifically says to never use children or
Yeah.
animals for sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't believe in human sacrifice. The idea is that you hex someone. If you want to sacrifice someone, you put a hex on them.
Sure.
Not like never physical blood.
Yeah,
You just cut
and
your hand or cut your nipple or something.
and a lot of these trials, like there were a few trials throughout the 80s and early 90s that were these daycares were accused of satanic ritual abuse against the children that they were supposedly trying to take care of. Here are some of the accusations, and the one accusation, I have no fucking clue why, but the one accusation that runs through every single one of these cases: hot air balloon rides.
No, this is when during the 1980 like rash of people blaming like molested. Like this is when the whole hidden memory thing really took off, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like kids were getting put into hypnosis and told to like remember like their molestation stuff. That's like what's the term? Not hidden, repressed memories.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this was when all this like all the new Satanist fervor came out.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, why would you even pretend to get that out of people? If it's repressed, just let it be down there.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's like the bloop in the bottom of the ocean.
The brain does a
Don't
good
rustle it.
job of hiding that shit for a reason. We're all trying to be normal, man.
Keep the door shut, man.
Well, one of the biggest of these, and one of the first, was called the McMartin Preschool Trial. Here's some of the accusations.
Not a sexy name.
Yeah,
It is.
McMartin Preschool Trial. Here's some of the accusations that the kids made. But it's also said, take this with a grain of salt, because it's also said a lot of this stuff was, like it started with one kid who had a fucking amazing imagination and said that all this stuff happened, and then they started suggesting it to all the rest of the children.
Yeah.
And
It
they
was
started
Diablo Cody.
eventually they eventually said,
Hail Satan!
yeah. One kid said, or they said that they saw witches fly, traveled in a hot air balloon. They were taken through underground tunnels. One child said that he was molested by Chuck Norris at this daycare.
So it's just basically tells you what kind of shows his parents were watching.
Yeah. It said that
What is that? Broomsticks and doorknobs or whatever?
Yeah.
Fucking flying witch is just Wizard of Oz.
Like some of the abuse was alleged to have occurred in secret tunnels beneath the school. Several investigations turned up evidence of old buildings on the site and other debris from before the school was built, but no evidence of any secret chambers were found. There were claims of orgies at car washes and airports, and of children being
It's the 80s.
and of children being flushed down toilets to secret rooms where they would be abused, then cleaned up and presented back to their unsuspecting
Stolen from
parents.
Ghoulies.
Fucking the Willy Wonka child molestation
Yeah.
made his wonderful
Yeah.
molestation factory.
Yeah, some interviewed children talked of a game called Naked Movie Star.
You know.
Suggesting that they were forcefully photographed nude during the trial. Testimony from the children stated that the Naked Movie Star game was actually a rhyming taunt used to tease other children. Here's the taunt: "What you say is what you are. You're a naked movie star."
I would love to be
That's
a
all it
naked
was.
movie
It was
So interesting.
yeah, that's all it was.
What you say is what you are.
You're a naked movie star.
I'm gonna start saying that to myself to get pumped up.
So this is another blow to Satanism here in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Also
I mean-
led by the one and only Geraldo Rivera, who did an expose in 1987.
It's just a very sexy image to attach to like what then comes into like a horrible, either real or not molestation. So I think and that's what all these people got like acquitted, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much like
Yeah.
So it all
It's not
fell
real.
through.
Yeah.
Because the main person who made these statements, that it was found to be like 3 years later that he was mentally ill, and that information was kept from the defense.
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
prosecution, they knew that he was mentally ill, but they kept it away from him.
Yeah.
But like the stories of Satanists, I know in my small town, like there were always stories of like Satanists, like that's where Satanists hang out. Like that abandoned house has Satanists. And,
See,
like,
my big thing
and
was
there would
voodoo.
be-
Game arcade.
And there would be like you go in these houses and there'd be like pentagrams spray painted
Yeah.
on the walls, just a bunch of fucking kids, like all
great
the
time.
freaks fucking with the popular kids.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was the smart kids fucking with the dumb kids.
Yeah,
And that's the way it always is, because the idea is like, well, so there's that documentary called Paradise Lost, where those, I mean, those kids were stupid, but like,
Yeah.
they, they
one of
drew
them
this-
was legally stupid.
yeah, they all had problems.
legally stupid.
Which like three
You've
goth
been announced
kids.
legally stupid.
Yeah, that's the story. I don't know if you don't know, it's the story of three. It's a great documentary about three goth kids who wrote 666 in their notebooks, and they got convicted of a brutal rape and murder of a little boy. And it basically, you find out 3 documentaries later, they've been exonerated, and
20
that
years
it's-
in prison.
Yeah, and it's pretty much definitely the deed of one of their uncles, who's as normal as they can be.
It wasn't even
So
one of their
that's-
uncles. It was a pedophile that lived across the street from where they found the body of the boy, but the detectives were like, no, we got him.
Absolutely.
We got these heavy metal music listening kids.
But that's the reason
they
why
were big
I will-
Metallica fans.
If I ever have children, I will always say, like, you can trust the man in black with the pentagram. That's the man you actually want to trust.
Yeah.
The ones you don't want to trust is fucking Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred's going to molest you because he's an uncle now.
Khaki shorts and fucking white sneakers.
Yeah, you see the neighbor, don't touch him. He's obviously a molester. You can
If
see
you
in his
see
eyes.
somebody that looks like an assistant football coach, don't talk
Don't
to
talk
them.
to him.
Do
Don't
not
talk
talk
to him.
them.
Yeah.
Never be a part of a children's organization or a children's group, because all it is it just makes perverts have power. You know.
Yeah.
Again, just like it's like a priest. Never even be in a fucking same room as a priest.
God, no.
God.
Right. Well, I think
Should I tell the story? Should I tell the story?
Let's end on the story, yeah.
As I was walking to the podcast today, full with power, filled with vigor,
Right.
ready to do this podcast, I saw a man handing out a watchtower in the L train station.
And Watchtower is the Jehovah's Witness Armageddon pamphlet.
Yeah, and I went to grab it from him because I wanted to read it on the podcast, and he went, no! And he, like, pulled it away from me, and I was just like, come on! I want to know!
Yeah, I walked
He
by.
sensed the demon in you.
I walked by that guy too. He looked a little unhinged.
I'm going to pull his pants down.
Yeah. Just do that rhyme. Scream that fucking rhyme at him.
What you
say is what you are. You're a naked movie star.
That's great. And you're all naked
Good
movie
thing.
stars out there.
So in all sincerity, I want to give a hail Satan to our listeners. I trust that the power of Satan leads you to good things today.
Absolutely. Hail Satan.
Hell, Satan.
Serve yourself. Be kind to those who deserve it.
That's right. All right, guys. All right, we love you. For Marcus Parks, Ben Kissel, Henry Zaborowski.
Yep.
We will talk to you probably next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
most likely.
Magustalations.
Magustalations. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.